is the legendary Humble and Fred Show, Canada's national morning show.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
The following episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Palma Pasta, CDN Technologies, and our newest sponsor, Sticker You, where you can get your stickers on Queen Street or order anywhere in the world. If you'd like to talk to Humble and Fred, call 1-833-437-8465. That's 1-833-HF-STINK. And now from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show, here are Humble and Fred.
Yeah, you know it. We're here, and we have a great announcement to make. Huge announcement. Waiting a long time to say these words. Available on the iHeartRadio app. Okay?
Yay!
I mean, woo! If I'm being honest, I think we've actually said we are, but we weren't. Did we ever say we were, but we weren't?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way it came down. Yeah.
See, that's our thing. We just sometimes
Say anything.
we say anything. I know.
I'm just gonna research it.
We are really both Barry Costanza in that way. We just keep telling people, "Oh yeah, we're on the iHeartRadio." I'm sure we are. Why wouldn't we be?
Like, who's gonna research it or Google it, right? Who are they? Let's find out.
But the news came through, I guess, a couple days ago, and I saw yesterday the email that had the link to where we are.
Bell Media, Montreal. I was in communication with Cynthia, a nice woman, and she. It was fast-tracked by Rob Farina.
Yeah, man.
Big shot there at iHeartRadio, and
Nice guy.
now we're on.
The Rob. He's a. You know what? He's a friend of Humble and Fred.
Yes, he is. Always has been.
Yeah, friend of the show.
And a great success story. Went to Humber College, and then rose through the ranks to become like a super mega power radio
Super
president.
powerful. Very powerful man.
An executor.
You and I worked for him. I worked for him alone. You and I went to meetings with him. Remember in the early days we would go to meetings with people?
I think Rob's the first guy I ever saw vape,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's 10 years ago
Yes. He was an early adopter.
of the vaping.
Well, he always wanted to quit smoking.
Remember, I think we were having lunch or breakfast with Gary Slate, and he walked over to the table, and he was actually vaping in the restaurant. That's how...
Old, new-fashioned.
Bless you.
Advanced.
That's how long ago it was, where
Yeah.
people... Remember, there was that sort of... They couldn't figure out whether people should be able to vape inside or out for a
Right.
while.
You okay over there?
Oh,
There's Fred's having a little sneezing attack. I remember in the early days of this project, and you and I were furiously going to meetings with people.
Furious.
We were we were furiously going from meeting to meeting, and Rob Farina was one of the first people at an executive level, and being very sincere now,
Yes.
to say, guys, come and talk to me. Mm-hmm. And it was in those days when we were going back and forth to meetings, it was just somebody to kind of reach out and say, you know, this seems like an okay idea, what you guys are doing. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. He's helped us again.
Rob, he's a Rob Farina. Rob, he's a Rob Farina. Rob, he's Farina.
Hey,
Yeah.
Rob Farina.
Normally,
Hey, Rob Farina.
normally, hang on.
love
Normally, I
that.
joined in on those. But I just want to see where it was going to go. I wanted to give it a chance to breathe.
Well, there's not much more to say.
Oh, I think there's a lot more to say. Here we are trying to celebrate the greatness of a man, and all you can talk about is the fact that he smokes inside and he has a song.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it was great. We're happy to be on the iHeartRadio app.
I think of those days. Boy, seriously, in the early days, we'd get up in the morning and we'd dash down to the Fan 590 and
Furiously.
do a bit with what's his head and what's
The
his
morning
head?
show, Brady and Lang.
Brady and Lang, and then dash back to the studio and do the podcast, and then maybe dash out somewhere to do
Go to
something
a
else.
meeting.
Go to a meeting.
You know, in those days, the studio was literally a room in somebody's office. You know, before it became this lavish setup.
Palatial.
Anyway, Rob Farina has fast-tracked our request to get on the iHeartRadio app. That's where you can hear us as well as the many other places that podcasts are distributed. So that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's just another. Whenever I hear a sort of an Ina name like that song always comes to mind. And I don't really like the
An
song.
Ina name.
Yeah, like an Ina, like somebody's name is.
I can't think of one other Ina name.
Oh, there's tons of them, Howard.
Name one
they
right
come up
now.
all the time.
What?
I don't know.
Well, there can't be tons if all we can think of is Farina.
Martina.
And when does that come up, though? You know
I
anybody
don't
named
know.
Martina?
Yeah, maybe. Martina Navratilova.
Yeah. Hey, Martina.
Yeah. Sabatina.
All right.
Sabatina.
Sabatina.
There's somebody. There's a Sabatina.
Sabatina.
Oh, I could go on all day, but I won't.
I wish you would.
No, we have to move on to other
No,
things.
we have lots of time to kill. All our guests have canceled, and our Christmas party has one performance. You know, I remember years ago. You know, this is the 30th. I actually think, in a way, this is going to be great because 30 years ago, 30 years ago,
One score in 10.
yes, one score.
One score in 10. Yeah.
Is one score? Is the score 20?
Yeah. I believe, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
These kids don't know. Yeah.
I
think
don't
a
know.
score is 20.
The score is 20. I'm coming up on 3 score.
Yeah. Is that what it is, Phil?
Isn't it like 2 baker's dozen and 4?
What? Anyway.
4.
30 goals a year is a decent career. If you're a 30 years ago, it was just you and I and a couple people. Our very first gift of Christmas was maybe you and I, Doll and Randy, a dog or 2, maybe Dan, but it wasn't very many people. I'm not sure if the Bare Naked Ladies came to that one. Anyway, tomorrow it's just going to be you and I and Dan, maybe Doll, maybe Randy.
Oh, I think Doll will be here.
GFR will be here.
My son will be here.
My kids have given up on the show a long time ago.
Oh.
The dog, a few of our friends.
My brother-in-law, Clyde.
Clyde will be here.
Clyde will be here.
You know what? And we're gonna have a performance at some point by Biff Naked. I think we're gonna have to get Phil to fill in for the Finn brothers because they bailed on us now. So
Dang.
Phil's gonna sing tomorrow.
Oh,
Will
my
you,
sister
Phil?
will be here tomorrow. Liz.
Will you sing tomorrow? A beautiful Christmas tune.
Liz is going to kill me. It's like I can't
Why
stand
is-
her singing, Phil.
Yeah, but Liz doesn't produce the show.
No, she does not.
We're asking you as your father figures.
Sure.
Will you step up and in the 7 o'clock hour sing a Christmas song?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think people would like that.
Apparently, my nephew in Cambridge, he's holding a viewing party, right, Brandon?
is.
Oh.
Yes.
He's got like a 70-inch screen, and he's invited people over to have breakfast and watch the show on Twitch on his big screen TV.
At 7 in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay, back up that whole sentence. None of
He
that made
actually
sense
has
to
done
me.
this.
Yeah.
Who did what?
My nephew, Brandon. Joseph.
Lovely, Brandon.
He's having a viewing party where he's invited people over to come and watch the show on his big screen television.
Well, nothing will be funnier to me than when we go to his viewing party and it's just him.
So then he invited his dad, Clyde, but Clyde decided no, he wants to make the trek out here and be here in person again.
Right on.
Because Clyde's been to several in a row.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Clyde's a good man. So, Sean, is it possible to go to the feed of the viewing party and put that up to just check in with him? Is that possible?
I'm gonna find a way because I've been talking with him in the chat and everything. So we'll see. I want to get Brandon's camera going on. So
Because that would be pretty funny.
At the very least, he could take a video and email
Yeah,
it to
for
us.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love that.
He sent me a picture already of what he kind of does every day for watching this show every day.
Oh, yeah?
That's what he does. He's got his big screen projection going on the wall.
Because that would be funny
It would be.
to me.
What if he was the only guy who showed up?
Just him.
What if he even left the house?
the humble and Fred viewing party. That
Yeah.
really sounds great. I think everyone should do it. All people all over the world.
What's he going to do if people actually show up to his house, though?
He's gonna have to make some breakfast.
I'll tell you what. Speaking of food, we got some nice food. Where's the where did you see that email?
Yep.
Oh, here it is. Mini meatballs. This is from Palma Pasta. Mini chicken parm, spring rolls, veggie skewers. And then you're going to get us one of those Tim things from coffee or something.
I think I should.
And then a few...
Unless people wanted to make it here, but I think it's easier to
yeah,
get
it's
a
easier if we have those little...
dispenser.
A carafe.
Yeah. I don't expect more than... I think there'll be... I don't know, maybe 30 people will show up, maybe 20, maybe 40, but not a lot. You know, it's like I said, in a weird way, we've come full circle, and we're going back to our roots. We're going back to how it all began. Just a few of us sitting around a room, pretending to have fun.
No, in this talk format day to day, I mean, having musical performances sort of stepping outside the format. So maybe this is what we should be doing. There's going to be people here that have listened to the show for many years. We're going to invite them on, and we're going to reminisce over the past 30 years.
Yep, they'll bring their cheer and their food.
Yes, good cheer.
What we were and what we are. It could be quite warm.
I think it will be. Amanda Barker, to answer some of your questions I'm seeing on Twitch already, Amanda Barker is scheduled to appear. I hope she brings Marco.
No, it'll be very nice.
Yes, Stan will be going bonkers. Stan.
I didn't even think about that. That's going to be a
Now,
whole
once
job.
people are here, he'll calm down. He'll be fine.
It's just the barking when they come in,
Yeah.
the whole show.
which can be a little unsettling. Like he's got it, his bark is a bit sharp when you don't expect it.
His cadence is absurd.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't expect it, it gives you a bit of a start. That's all. And it's
So-
not good at my age to have that.
No, well, unless, of course, your heart stops. Then you need a little jolt. So that's our show. That's tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock. Our doors will be open, by 6:30, 6:45, as we're getting ready for the broadcast. Some of our friends from Funny 820, our mentor, our man there, Mike Neighbors, will be dropping in. He can talk about the radio station. We're going to Dan Duran will be here, as I mentioned. GFR will be here. All the the kids not here. Charlie, maybe I'll get Charlie to Skype in and say hi. Spencer is not attend. He will not be attending.
That's too bad because I'd love her to come and sing a Christmas song.
Yeah, me too.
It's weird, when my favorite singer is his daughter.
Yeah.
Well,
It is weird that she
But she what?
she won't do it anymore. She has
won't do
no
what?
interest in it.
In singing.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Oh.
It was all she wanted to do. All she wanted to talk about. All she wanted to do for
Yeah,
3 or
but
4 years in her teenage years.
But she's young and creative. She goes from one thing to the next. She's exploring it all. It's probably a neat thing. She'll get back to it. I'm
talent
sure.
is talent.
Dan Duran, thank you. Dan Duran is coming up here in a second. On the show today, we're going to talk about the Trump letter story. There's going to be some Trump talk today. Also, there's another update on cannabis and driving. There's now some research that shows that they're calling into question this zero tolerance. And it gets back to a conversation that we've had several times about the language of marijuana versus the language of alcohol. Also, Phil Hong has had a sexual encounter with a wonton.
What?
There's a story I've been sitting on for a couple days. Farts. A fart story. There's a guy that they found whose farts kill mosquitoes.
And
Yeah.
on to further to farts.
Yeah.
We should try that experience with Hey Google, which my grandchildren turned me on to. What you can do with Hey Google and farts. It's fascinating.
Do we have a phone that we can
He has
use
a Hey Google.
on your phone?
Yeah.
You have the Hey Google on your phone?
Yeah, you guys keep setting it off right now.
All right. Well, what we'll do is we'll do the Hey Google fart test. That's what we're gonna do.
Definitely. And that other big story in the news, to think there's people out there right now maybe looking at like my PSA tests. If you've had blood tests lately, there was a computer breach at Life Labs, and all our 15 million Canadians, all our personal information is out there somewhere being scanned by people and used. It's frightening.
Did you hear that, Dan? Dan, are you
No,
there?
he doesn't listen.
Oh no, Dan didn't answer.
He's listening to the wolf.
Dan?
Dan.
No, he didn't answer.
Did he sleep in? Because I'll tell you, I got up this morning when I looked outside. I couldn't see across the street.
Did you open your eyes?
No, you know what it was? It was squalls. Horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had a shower. When I come out, it was fine. It was clear as a bell. But it was scary. And squalls are bad for icing up the roads, which is a big problem today on the 427 and some of the other highways.
Yeah.
Dan, are you hearing this?
Yes, I am.
Dan Duran is here.
I'm here finally. Yeah, sir.
What's that, sir?
Sorry about that. I don't know. My Skype wasn't working quite right.
That's all right. Are you going to be here tomorrow? Because everyone's bailing on us.
Who's bailed?
Oh, just one person.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to make it sound dramatic, Dan.
No, my plan's to be there.
Now, Phil's going to sing, because we had these guys that were going to sing some Christmas songs, and they couldn't make it because of a family issue. Phil's going to step in during the 7 o'clock hour. Is there any chance that choir boy Dan might favor us? Well, we're going to do the Dan Duran song live. That'll be kind of a performance.
And I'm going to bring some jingle bells along so that, it'll Christmas up the theme.
You know, Dan, wear that Santa hat you used to wear at the trailer Christmas parties, too.
All right.
No, he did. He wore a Santa hat.
I just love his reaction. All right.
At the trailer Christmas parties, but he really looked...
festive?
He looked sort of like Bing Crosby-ish, you know what I mean? Just warm.
I'll do that, and I've got my 1980s ugly sweater that I can wear as well.
Oh, do that.
You know,
and then sell it to Phil.
Why, so he can get a new sweater?
Yeah.
I did a thing for Spencer's school last week. She had to do something for an assignment, and it was to shoot on a single shot a scene, and she brought her crew here, and they dressed me up in an ugly Christmas sweater. And then, anyway, it doesn't matter. And they gave it to me, and I said to Rachel, I said, I might wear this for the Christmas party. And then she just made a face. And
how ugly is it?
It's pretty ugly. And it lights up, though.
Oh. Yeah, that's a big thing now.
Yeah. The thing lights up.
Where did they get it? Did they buy it new?
Value Village or something? No.
So do you have to, take a battery pack out when you wash it?
Well, no, it's really... Well, I guess. But it's not very good because the battery's like a car battery. You have to carry it around.
In a little wagon behind you.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very poorly made product.
See, you got to be cutting edge. You got to start wearing a solar panel hat.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. What happened over there?
I don't know.
What happened, buddy?
Has this run its course? You guys don't care anymore?
I just looked over. His head was down.
No. The second line, instead of going Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran, I said, weather, Dan Duran.
Oh, I see. You got the words wrong.
So then I pulled back. That's all.
I see. So I say Dan Duran, weather, Dan Duran. I heard you say, weather, Dan Duran, Dan Duran.
Weather, yeah.
I know what the problem was, because you wanted to go, Dan Macarena.
Dan Duran.
Dan Duran.
Yeah, for some reason I started with weather. Oh, well.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
There's snow here in the big city. Fred was just talking about some snow squalls out in the suburbs. What's going on?
There's lots of squall activity going on as predicted. We were talking about this yesterday. It's some Arctic air coming in and low pressure system and fronts moving through. A lot of wind today as well. And it's all along Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. There's snow squall alerts, and there's also some warnings in effect right now because of it could get up to 25 to 30 centimeters of snow in some of those squall areas. But some of them are just a really narrow band that will extend as far as into the Kawarthas. Not all the way to Peterborough, but pretty far away from Georgian Bay. And the temperature will be dropping all day today, pretty severely where I am, down to minus 22 overnight tonight. Abnormal temperature trend. It's only going to be minus 13, 14 or so in the GTA. So it'll be dropping all day throughout the day. It'll be getting colder and colder and colder until it hits its overnight low.
Jeez, I'm going to have to stay inside.
But on the other side of things, by the time we get to the weekend, we've got sunshine in the forecast on Friday and Saturday. Temperatures will be rising above zero on Sunday and Monday before we get into the last couple of days in Christmas there. And then we're not, I don't know, if we're going to have white stuff on the ground for Christmas. It's kind of out there right now. I don't know.
Now, tonight you're making your way here to the Sketchway.
I am.
To hang out. I'm going to get some rotis.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I love a good roti.
I thought so.
What?
And what?
And then what?
Going to eat them.
Oh, you're gonna get the rotis already done. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to go get some rotis because Dan's going to be here. GFR is going to be here. We're going to have a roti party. What do you serve with roti? Like rice?
Dal, curry.
So, are you talking about they will already have like the meat and potato and
I'm
everything in them?
going to go find a roti.
Okay.
I just thought it might be fun to have
Sometimes
rotis.
you buy rotis. When you say roti, you just buy the flour,
Right,
and then do your own stuffing. But you're talking about going to a place and buying them ready made.
Yeah, I'm not going to DIY my roti.
Okay.
Have you got a good roti
You
spot?
know what, Howard? If they have potato in them, you don't need anything with those things.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred. Dan, do I know what?
Do you know a good roti place, or is this just
Dan,
something?
this is
you're thinking about?
Toronto, okay? You can't swing a goat without finding a nice roti place.
Hey, there's a place on Hunter Street in Peterborough. What's it called? Island Cream or something?
Island Cream is that one? Yeah.
He's an old Jamaican fella, and I'll tell you, he does a good roti.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of those up there.
Why? I don't. I've mentioned this before. There's not famous, but a fairly well-known jerk place called Alwyn's. That there's a location in the north part of the city, but it's right next door to us. Mm-hmm. I've had their jerk chicken. I had some of their barbecued chicken recently as well. But I'm sure they must do rotis over there, don't they?
I've never been there, Howard.
Well, let's
I
go
wouldn't
and find
know.
out.
Likely, actually. Yeah.
What about Reenie or whatever that was next door here? Didn't they move somewhere?
Oh yeah, they do nice rotis.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
You might want to seek them out because then you'd know what you were getting. Where did they move to?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Anyway, Dan, we're gonna have a roti party.
Well, I'll save some room then.
No.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, Dan's going to be here. Everyone will get a chance to talk to Dan. Don't forget, you have to be this tall to ride the Dan Duran ride. So
Hey, just back to food for a second. I can give you the heads up. You know when you go to a Jamaican restaurant or Caribbean restaurant, you get the rice and beans or rice and peas, they call it.
and coleslaw sometimes.
Uncle Ben's does a pouch of the Caribbean rice and beans. It's
Like the Insta rice,
it's excellent.
the 90-second rice,
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes.
the
but
microwave, or do you have to cook it?
I'm either way.
Probably
Okay.
microwave.
But it's good.
Is it
it's
good?
really good.
Nice.
So you might want to do that.
All right.
So
Or
that's-
if you're going with the right roti, you would just buy the rice off them, I guess. But I'm just saying, if you're doing that type of thing, give it a shot because it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Because I use that pouch rice all the time.
Yeah. Well, they have the new rice and beans or peas, whatever they call it.
So, Dan, we'll have you here in the studio tomorrow. Everyone, we want you to drive safely. The roads are icy. As Dan mentioned, we've had some snow squall activity. There is snow on the ground, and it is going to be brutally, brutally cold. I hope this doesn't prevent people coming to visit us tomorrow and eat the beautiful Palma pasta food.
Well, it's what you said yesterday. The problem with the squalls, there was major problems on the 427 on the off-ramps. The squalls come across, they blow that light snow across the highway, and it freezes up quickly. And it's treacherous. I slipped a bit on the 427, but there was some spin-outs. So those squalls can be worse than anything,
Absolutely.
actually.
No, we want everyone to stay strong, right, Dan?
Stay strong. That's a great. Yeah.
Stay,
get
stay
out there
strong.
and stay strong.
Stay present, but stay strong.
Yeah.
Dan Duran will connect.
tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
See you later.
See you
Dan
tomorrow.
Duran, weather, Dan Duran. Dan Duran's weather brought to you by Dan Duran. We'll come back here in a second and solve all the world's problems at humbleandfredradio.com.
Yes, it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. One night. Thank God it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. Can it be Christmas? Let it be Christmas every day. Oh, my love, healing in troubled days. Oh, my friend, we have the strangest ways. Oh, my friends, on this one day, all day. Thank God it's Christmas. Yes, it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. For one day. Thank God it's Christmas. Yes, it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. Yes, it's Christmas. Thank God it's Christmas. Whoa.
Don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true.
Welcome back. It's Humble and Fred Radio on Funny 820 around Southern Ontario. Great to be with you on this snowy Wednesday. 1 week till Christmas, which means any day now I'm going to start doing something. Any day. This is the #1 song, according to Sean, for the first time in its 25-year history. This song by Mariah Carey has gone to #1 on some charts.
The top of the Billboard charts in the U.S. right now.
Like current, and it's 25 years old.
And you guys were saying it's never happened before?
It's never hit #1. It's been on the charts before, and it usually does around Christmas time, but first time at the top.
It's a nice song.
It is a nice song. I was curious, though. I didn't even realize we still had charts. I don't know. Do we do charts? Are there people keeping track on charts still? Is that still an actual thing people give 2.5 craps about?
Well, I know radio program directors do because every week you have to check. I think, what was it? R&R, radio, whatever.
Radio and records.
Whatever. You have to check these charts to see what's doing well at other stations, because then you add it to your station if it's doing well at other stations. That type of thing.
That's quite a job.
And I often used to think, who's the first guy? Because to do well at other stations, somebody has to be the first.
Somebody had to add it.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're just But there's certain radio stations won't touch a song until it's like super proven elsewhere, and that's what we were like.
Well, you and a lot of radio stations.
Oh no, without a doubt, yeah.
This movie, this song is featured in that Christmas movie, Love Actually. You know, the scene where they perform at the kids' school, and the Prime Minister's making out with that dolly behind the curtains, and then the drummer boy. Hi, who's this?
Hi, my name's Don. I'm a regular listener. What time is your open house running tomorrow?
It starts at 7 a.m. Doors open at 6:45.
And when does it end?
It never ends, Don.
No, it's 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., Don, and we'd love to see you.
Yeah. Don, where are you calling from?
I'm from Etobicoke. I'm really close to you guys.
Okay.
And come hungry, Donnie. Come hungry.
Well, we were at Palma Pasta Kitchen yesterday, so we know all about their food. So
there you go.
So thanks very much.
Hey, Don, one quick thing, though. Don't forget to bring a non-perishable food item for Humble and Fred.
You betcha.
Okay.
Okay, brother.
All right.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Don.
thanks.
Right on.
Bye.
Well, that was sweet.
Yeah, Don's going to be here. Performances by Biff Naked, Phil Hong,
Not
Dan
naked.
Duran.
If you want, I'll sing a Christmas version of the Macarena.
Ah,
I'll come up with something.
Christmas Macarena. Christmas Macarena.
Jesus.
Jesus Macarena.
All right, before we get to a few other things here, we got to talk about the not only is the impeachment going to be, are they voting for impeachment today and then it goes to the Senate?
Yes.
Is that what's happening?
Yes.
And the insane maniac who is in charge of America has issued a letter, and it really is. If it wasn't so serious, it would be hilarious.
The thing is, there's a side of him that you almost have to admire. He just doesn't care. See, today he's being impeached. And tonight he's thrown together a quick rally in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yeah.
So he's going to go there in front of 10, 15,000 people and just yap all night long on the day that he's impeached. His diversion tactics they're brilliant, actually.
Well, that's that should be what the letter is called. It's the diversion letter. It's 6 pages, him ranting. We'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, we'll get. Hey, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 plan for employee benefits. Go to chamberplan.ca. You can get a free quote instantly. You have a small business and you've often thought about a benefits package for your group of people that work so hard for you. Well, get her done. They have health and dental insurance. They have travel insurance. Several products under the umbrella. Check it out. Chamberplan.ca, a free quote. It's Canada's #1 plan for employee benefits.
Well, the Gig Sky eSIM is now available on the new Google Pixel 4 devices, as well as the Pixel 3 and 3A. Yeah, all you have to do is take this song, and just put some jingle bells behind it. Yeah, that's great. So we're two guys that are 120 years old talking about a song that was popular 20 years ago.
122, actually, you and I.
More. 120, soon to be 124.
Right.
Yeah. The same regional and world plans available on the eSIM-enabled iPhones are available on the new Google eSIM phones. All you got to do is download the latest version of the Gig Sky app onto your phone. By the way, Rudra is going to be here. Create an account, purchase a data plan. The eSIM will be downloaded, and you're good to go with Gig Sky service. Also, you can get data service on your iPad and Windows eSIM-enabled devices. If you like the physical SIM, what do, Phil? You go to the hotspot. You can get a hotspot and the physical SIM.
Yes, absolutely. Go to the humbleandfredradio.com website and click on Gig Sky from there. We have deals.
We have deals.
Hey, Christmas tree.
Keep going. You're
there
doing
you go.
Yeah, there you. What do you mean, there you go?
There you go.
That's it? You
That
stop.
will be. Hey, Christmas tree.
No.
What?
Go back and
That
try
will
again.
be the song. Hey, Christmas tree. What? What more do you want?
A lot more.
Okay.
I want a lot more.
I'll work
on it. Hey, Christmas tree. You know that
Hey.
when they say, "What's the least you can do?" That's the least you can do. You do it. Listen, man. You
there's
do
a
whatever
million
you
of
want.
them.
Oh, is there?
Christmas
Yeah.
tree, I gotta get an ornamento.
Hey, Santa Claus.
Hey, it's Santa Clausy. No, it's got to be E at the end.
Oh, does it?
Even though it's Macarena.
All right.
Oh, Holy
Let's go.
Spirit and the Jesus Macarena.
Hey, Christmas tree. That's the way. That's it. You were right. I was off. It should have been Hey, Christmas tree.
No, you just do whatever you want. It's
Okay. It'll be a gem.
fine. Oh, I can't wait.
Where were we? Oh,
Well,
impeachment.
the impeachment. And the thing is, we're going to need a long time for this. And the problem is we've got the retirement Sherpa. But the short of it is, what do they call those, Freddie? The top line, just the facts. Sort of the headlines of this is
Headline.
today. So today we're going to do what?
Well, the Congress will take it to a vote, and they will vote to impeach the president. And then from there, it goes to the Senate. And for him to be removed from office, the Senate has to have a majority. That will never happen. But he will still go down in history as an impeached president through Congress.
Yes.
But already the Republicans have said that it's just going to be a formality. They're just going to rubber stamp. He's fine. He's not guilty. He can keep his job. So it's a little bit of a farce. You almost wonder why they're even bothering. But as the Democrats say, they got to do what's right, and they can't. If they let him away with this, it sets a bad precedent. So they've got to hold him to account and let the chips fall where they may. And in the Senate, he'll be acquitted by his fellow Republicans.
So to go back to 1990s, Bill Clinton, who was brought up on impeachment for lying under oath for, there's a name for that.
Perjury?
Perjury, yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah,
was the
okay.
charge.
Yeah.
And he was found guilty, was impeached. No?
No. It was the same scenario.
Well, no, but he was impeached.
Yes, but he was never removed from
That's
office.
what I'm saying. The article of impeachment
Right.
against Bill
I
Clinton
see
was
what
for
you're saying.
perjury, lying under oath. That whole I did not have sex, I did not have sex, whatever. But so it's a very similar situation. It went to the Senate and they voted not to impeach the president and that's what will happen. It stinks because of this whole McConnell thing and what you just said. It stinks because they're making it seem that, as you say, rubber stamping the process. I don't know why they did that. To me,
Why they did what?
why not just go through the process, vote not to remove the president, which they shouldn't do.
Well, that's what they're going to do.
But why this big production about we're not going to look at the evidence, we're not calling witnesses?
Because they're rubbing the Democrats' nose in it. Because they don't think it should have gotten this far.
Well, it's bad for the country.
Well, of course it's bad for the country.
That part of the process.
But the Republicans will argue impeaching him today is bad for the country.
Right.
Sure
And
they
the
will.
Democrats argue what the Republicans are going to do in the Senate. Senate is bad for the country. It's all bad for the country.
Yeah.
But it's just too bad, because the midterms, prior to the midterms, right, Democrats, they held the Senate and Congress, did they not?
Yes. Well, no. Actually, the Republicans held both at some point. You remember when
that's
Obama was in
right.
office, it switched that way.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, you're right. And then so if it had held to that, we wouldn't even be here now.
That's right.
But just imagine if if the Democrats held the Senate, he'd be kicked out of office.
The other two,
and it would be perfect to humiliate him because he deserves it.
the other two times that articles of impeachment for a sitting president were drawn up was Nixon, Clinton.
Yes.
Nixon, Clinton, and now Nixon never got to the impeachment process,
Right.
resigned prior to. So that we've never been here before. We've been here similarly with Clinton.
Well, Trump will be the third one.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But in the first case, Nixon was going to be impeached. He resigned.
Yes, before it happened.
Trump, on the other hand, this is what I'm getting to. So at least Clinton went through with the process, was respectful of the office and was respectful somewhat of the
Right.
process.
And Republicans voted with him in the Senate, if you remember. That break in rank caused him to stay in office.
because the Republicans at the time knew it would be bad for the country to remove a sitting president. But my point is this guy, this guy writes out some kind of DC Comics manifesto letter, some 6-page rant. It's ridiculous. But it's what we said a few minutes ago. It's all diversion. And in some ways it's kind of brilliant in a way because he's just forget the facts. Now it's his narrative against their narrative.
And they went through it last night on CNN, and say what you want about CNN. I still think CNN's doing a pretty good job because all they're doing is telling you what's happening.
Yeah, it's more factual.
Just because Republicans don't like what's happening, they call it fake news.
And they ignore it.
Yeah, but they're just telling you what's happening. You can't argue with what they're telling you because it's happening. But they went through that letter last night, and there was like 100 mistruths or lies or wonky facts in it. So he writes that 6-page. It's not even like he gets somebody to proofread it. Then he throws it out there, and it's just full of bull crap. Like, it's shocking. But still, those who love him and follow him, they don't care about that.
Yeah, gubernation.
So where is the White House staff? Where's his staff in all of this? That letter is on White. It's on White House paper.
Yeah.
You know, someone typed it. It's not like he was in a tower somewhere and he had Igor like tapping it out on a Smith and Corona. Somebody went, okay, should I put this out now, Mr. President? Didn't anyone look at it before?
And that whole thing about the economy and jobs, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'll tell you, that could be as cyclical as it can be directive from him. You know, it just can be. What you cannot argue with, all the things he's guilty of and all the things he should be impeached for or despised for, there's no gray area there. There just isn't. He's a horrible person.
Yeah.
So anything that he's so-called done well, you know, that's up for debate. It just is.
Well, that is up for debate. And anyway, I was just looking here. Justin Allman is coming in. He's from the Raptors 905 development. He's the coach, and he's got a book to promote, and that'll be interesting. He's come. I was just checking there. That has been confirmed.
Oh, okay.
We'll get back to this impeachment process. It is fascinating. I mean, as dull as some of that testimony can be. And then there's that one Southern guy. You know, they're all... That Collins guy kills me. You know?
Well, if it's done nothing else, it's shown America who the slime balls are in Congress and the Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has. I mean, there's a collection of Republicans from Jim, what's his name? Jenkins or Jim Jordan. To
yeah, and the Collins guy.
Collins guy and Nunez. Like, these are not good people. They're like, you know what? They stink.
They stinky.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I'll tell you who is good people. This sweet character. Hey, mister.
Good morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
Not bad,
there
Tim.
He is. There he is on his snowball microphone.
Nice to hear you.
Nice to hear you guys, too. You're making me hungry talking about rotis. We have many a roti Friday at Retirement Sherpa headquarters.
Yeah, in Burlington. Where do you guys get your roti?
There's a place called D Hot Shop that's very close by, and I have super hot ones, and sometimes it hurts after, but they're great.
And what flavor do you usually get?
I would have suicide chicken, Fred, often with chickpeas instead of potatoes.
Very nice. You know, I like a nice... They're not easy to get, but when you can get boneless goat roti.
Oh, yeah. Goat.
It's hard to get boneless goat, though.
Boneless goat. And the Sherpa is... that microphone, it sounds... have you guys figured that out?
Yeah, well...
I was told to lean closer to it. Is it happening? Is it helping?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because I know when Fred was down there, I thought you guys had like a tech call.
Yeah, we did. I wrote off the beer, actually.
Did you really?
Right on.
Attaboy. Tim Niblett is here. He's a retirement Sherpa, as you may or may not know. He's a portfolio manager, Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Securities Foundation, Corporation, Administration. I don't know. Pick
You've
one.
got it.
I don't have it in front of me. Do you know?
Yes.
Oh, yeah? Maybe you can help me out.
Portfolio manager.
I got
Raymond
that
James
part.
is
Yeah.
a member of
the Canadian Securities Administration Office.
Yeah, okay.
What is it?
It's fun.
Canadian Securities Protection Fund.
Point for Phil.
Tim could have stepped in there. He just wanted to see me twist for a couple seconds.
I was just enjoying it. That's
all. Where are you now? Speaking of enjoying, first of all, we want to thank you formally. Now, will you be just calling in quickly tomorrow to say hi to everyone?
I would love to, absolutely.
Okay. Well, you know what? Then I won't do that now, but just wanted to thank you for all your support. Let's talk today. Does your portfolio, here's a great question, does your portfolio have too much Canada?
Well, if you're like most Canadians, it certainly does, right? I mean, the reality of it is we're about 3 to 4% of the world's choices. Our market capitalization is a percentage of all combined. Yet most Canadians will have over 40% Canadian equities in their portfolio, 10 times what the percentage is. And often that means you're probably not making the best choices you could.
So what would be, is there a cut and dried balance that you would promote or recommend?
Yeah, I think, Fred, good is good, right? It can exist everywhere, but I'd say about 15 to 20% in most cases is really the most people should have. I mean, we love our banks and all that sort of thing, so that's usually a big portion of the investments. But yeah, the U.S., the chart that's kind of drilled through a little bit below the email I sent you shows over the last 30 years, the S&P 500 up 900%, the TSX, a Canadian major stock market, up 444. That's a heck of a big difference.
I'd say.
Was there a time when there were restrictions on the amount of foreign stock we could hold in a portfolio?
Yeah, absolutely. Within an RSP, TFSAs didn't exist then. Non-RSPs, you could put money wherever you wanted to. I remember it being 20% maximum. I think it might have been lower, but definitely 20. It went up to 30, and then I would say 15 years or so ago now, the restrictions were lifted.
Well, the reason I ask, do you think maybe the reason a lot of Canadians still have perhaps too much Canadian indices in their portfolios because of sort of a leftover, from that time when a lot of Canadians, couldn't hold more than 20% in foreign?
It certainly could be. I mean, most people work with an advisor of some sort, so if they
think that they would have heard by now.
That shouldn't really be an issue, okay. I would suggest. And if it is, and they're doing it by themselves, that's all the more reason they should have somebody review their situation and make sure they're doing the right thing.
So you're saying 15% Canadian, 85% other?
Yeah, on average, absolutely. Yeah. Depends on the situation. All the normal things, starts with a plan, but absolutely. I mean, why would you want to have even, arguably 20% might be too high. Why would you want to make 20% of your choices from 4% of what exists?
So what is your recommendation, for instance?
I'd say 15, 20%.
Okay, so and when you say Canada versus U.S. in past / going forward, what are you referring to?
Well, it's always great to look at charts for the past 30 years and show you that the Hang Seng has been up about the same as the S&P, but much more volatile, or the TSX has lagged most major indices. Great Britain, especially with the recent Brexit foibles, would be down with Canada as well. Japan, actually, barely up at all. So it's always more important to look forward and see where the opportunities are. And as we sit here today, impeachment or not, the U.S. market continues very strongly, and most of my soothsayers feel it will be for the next couple of years still.
Well, I was going to bring that up. As much of a ranting maniac that Trump is, it's hard to argue against 133 times it's gone up during his presidency. He makes this point about the most robust economy in U.S. history. Forget about the $20 trillion debt. But for the average person on the street, their portfolios are noticeably strong.
Well, absolutely, and that's all that matters to most people, or most of what matters to most people. But if you look at the numbers, if you let reality get in the way of a good opinion, it's really no different than under the Obama years. And Obama had 8 winning years. Trump's only had 3 so far. And, you can't discount the recession, of course, right? It's like somebody saying, well, I got more toys than you do, but meanwhile they got a huge credit card debt. Well, they don't really have more toys.
No,
they got more debt.
It was probably even more impressive under Obama because what he brought it back from under his watch. But, you know, I saw a report the other day, too, with Americans. You know, when you talk about their 401ks and investments, it doesn't speak to many Americans. In fact, it actually aggravates some Americans, or a lot of Americans, middle-income Americans. They just don't have these things. So he's boasting about a product that they don't have or can't have.
Well, valid point, but it's one of the most important things he could talk about, and it certainly helps his re-election chances as well, right? So, sure, the average person probably cares more about health care, but that's been bundled up and, you know, booted around as well.
Yeah, they don't talk about that too much, and that is a good point. You know, the average American isn't participating, you know, in the robustness of the stock market, but it's that classic American dream where they want it to be robust if, in fact, one day they get to be part of it.
I guess, yeah.
What is the rule of 72? Is that have anything to do with Team Canada back in the Russian series?
Yes, Paul Henderson and his goal, thanks to Dennis Hull being pulled off at the last minute.
Yes, thank goodness.
Dennis Hull always says it is after dinner speeches that Team Canada won because of him, because Sinden saw him on the ice, took him off, and put Henderson on.
Yeah.
So the rule 72 is just how long it takes your money to double. If you're making 7.2% per year on average, your money's going to double every 10, 6% every 12, and so on. So, you know, depending on your age, if you get one more doubling period by being in the right geographical areas and the right opportunity areas, that can obviously make a huge amount of money. Let's say you've got 200,000 and it doubles 3 times instead of twice. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a big difference. It's $1.6 million instead of $800,000.
And having Tim on your side is definitely an advantage, and will help you hopefully achieve these kind of returns. As we always say, even if you've got someone, it's always great to have someone else take a look at it. Over the last few years, Tim has impacted the lives of so many Humble and Fred listeners, and so many of us directly by your wonderful, your presence, your presence. Tim.Niblett at raymondjames.ca. Just we're going to go to a break here, Tim, and just hang on a second while we figure out a time tomorrow for you to make your call, okay?
With pleasure.
All right, there he is, Tim Niblett. Phil,
woo!
What do you say about that? You don't even know. Okay. We'll take a quick break here. Raptors 905. We're going to talk about the development of young basketball players and young human beings as we continue on the Humble and Fred Show.
Hangs behind the glass above Venetian doors. His window box boasts crimson flowers, fresh cut the day.
Isn't this wonderful, dear? Our baby's first Christmas. Everything's so perfect. You have eggnog on your shirt, dear. I have an idea. Let's play some Christmas music. Be a doll and put on the radio. Cool.
My child will not listen to that!
But honey, last year...
That was a brief moment of insanity.
That will never happen again. Now change the channel! I said change it!
Turn on the television. Perhaps we could watch that wonderful Yule log.
Happy birthday, baby Jesus. It's Humble and Fred Radio. Hey, hey. You know, sometimes you forget. We were talking about Mariah Carey and the fact that her All I Want for Christmas has gone to #1 on a chart. I was surprised there still were charts. But I'm looking at the, you know, on Spotify, they'll put the thumbnail of the album cover.
Yes.
I think we all forget just how, and again, I know it's not, you're not supposed to see gender, but I think you forget when you see her 25 years ago. You know, she was quite something.
A lot of woman.
She was very, very, very attractive. She's still attractive, okay?
Didn't she had done some video where she was sort of dancing in the back seat of a car or something?
Probably.
And
yeah, I don't know.
Like in a bikini or something.
Very juicy.
She was dating media magnets at some point. Like last year, she dated the head of a TV network in Australia. James
Phil told
Packer.
me. Phil told me something strange this morning, that sometimes in the creation of wontons, things can get very sexy.
What? How would that be?
Well, full of double entendres, because there's a technique where you can put flavor into meat. Ground meat specifically, by slapping it.
So you slap your meat?
It sounds ridiculous.
Slap a wonton.
So Liz and I made wontons for you guys, Liz mainly, but I was helping her with some of the preparation. But basically, when you throw different flavors and ingredients together, sometimes it's too loose. And so what Cantonese chefs do, what Southern Chinese chefs do, is they'll take their hand, take all the ground meat, hold it with them, and then start slapping it back into the bowl, the mixing bowl. So we call it tapping or slapping. Yeah.
Anyway, when he was telling me about it, he said things can get quite sexual.
How?
That's what I said. How?
You're slapping your meat.
Yeah, he was trying to be funny. He's like, I was slapping some meat for you, and I said, you keep
literally.
Yeah, I said you can keep that to yourself. We're going to speak to Justin Allman here in a second. He's a youth mentor creating his basketball program called Dream Chasers, the #1 basketball training program in the GTA. He's promoting his upcoming book. It's called Before My Glory. We're going to talk to Justin here in a second or two once everyone gets settled. First, let's talk about our friends, Friedrich at CDN Technologies.
CDN Technologies. There was a big story in the news last night. Life Labs had a security breach that they had to pay a ransom for. Maybe if they had talked to Bob first at CDN Technologies, they could have avoided such a thing, because that's what they deal in. If you're worried about getting hacked or having a data breach, CDN Technologies are there for you. CDNtechnologies.com is where to get a hold of them. If your network's unbelievably slow, same thing. They'll help you with that. And if your current IT team is spending way too much time on simple problems, they can help you with that as well. CDN Technologies. Talk to Barb. They'll get it done for you.
Our newest sponsor has just opened the largest sticker store on Queen and Bathurst, and a pop-up store in Square One. Stickers. I don't, until Laura Fitch came in here with some sample stickers about a month and a half ago, I had no idea what they did there. Then I saw the stuff she did for Toronto Mike's Palma Pasta appearance, and I see some of the stuff they've done for us. It's insane. All these ideas for gifts and stocking stuffers. As I mentioned, it's 7 days from Christmas, so I got to start getting motivated. Do what I'm going to do. I'm going to go check out the store. If you want to do it online, you can at stickeru.com. You can customize stickers, and as I mentioned, you can get them small enough to fit on your fridge, and you can get them fridge-sized if you want to do something for your company. They've got some exciting new things coming in 2020, including a sticker museum and a custom experience center at Queen and Bathurst. Stickeru.com. They'll be here tomorrow.
I might get some I Love You doll stickers and just put them everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere doll, in her car. Yeah.
Do it, man. Do it.
On the mirror in the bathroom.
Mirror in the bathroom.
Kitchen. Yeah. I might do that. I Love You doll stickers everywhere. It'll be
yeah,
great.
Why don't you do
It'll
that?
be great. Be great.
Anything
she'll
else?
Love it. No, she'll love it. She'll finally, you got me a decent gift.
She will. Seriously, we'll go there together. Let's go to Sticker U.
I love you, GFR.
As I mentioned, our guest is a youth mentor, creating basketball programs for people in the GTA basketball training. Please say hello to Justin Allman. Justin Allman, there you are. Look at you. Let me turn your mic on. Justin, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Can I look at this?
Absolutely.
This is the book. I'm going to hold it up. It's called Before My Glory. Putting it up here on Twitch. Well, let's start with what is work. First of all, thanks for coming. What is Raptors 905?
Raptors 905 is the official development team for the Toronto Raptors. So every team, well, most teams in the in the NBA have a development team, and Raptors 905 is the one that's officially partnered with the Toronto Raptors.
And might I say, it's a good brand of basketball. I took Johnny Slapshot to a game. In Mississauga, they play. It used to be called the Hershey Center. I forget what it's called now. But it's a great brand of basketball. I mean, obviously at a reduced price, but it's a great afternoon.
So give me some perspective. If the NHL is the top tier and then the AHL is professional
Same
basketball,
thing.
is it so the 905
the Marlies
would be like the Marlies?
Yeah.
And
well, didn't Spicy P play for 905 at one point? Yeah.
It's crazy because actually half of the guys on the Raptors play. There was Pascal Siakam, Norman Powell, Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
There was DeLon Wright. Everybody who you see up there doing well.
So that's like a development league, and guys. So
it's their minor league team.
And here's another question I didn't understand. Well, so sometimes we talk about hockey players playing on a two-way contract. Do they do that in the NBA?
They do.
They do. So when you're with the big team, you get this salary. When you're on the 905 squad, you have a reduced salary.
Exactly.
Second question, are there guys that are lifetime 905ers? Meaning, like, sometimes hockey players, you'll hear about them, they played in the AHL or the I for years. They never quite cracked the league.
Yeah, there's a few guys like that. And with guys like that, they have a decision to make. Do they want to stay there and potentially get a call up to the NBA one day? Or do they want to go overseas and maybe make some more money, not have the opportunity to go back up to the NBA?
And there's a slight difference. Like the Marlies with the Leafs, often they're out looking for players to fill out that roster. With NBA rosters, the Raptors might be in a position where, we don't want the old guy because we need a young guy. There's only so many positions. We want to bring a young guy in to develop him. So they might want to move an old guy out. Where the Marlies, sometimes with the 23-man roster, they're looking for players to fill out a roster. So,
and I know we want to talk about some of the work you're doing with youth in the city, but just one last question about that league. Do you get good crowds? Are they getting decent crowds?
I would say it's a decent crowd. It's tough though because the Toronto Raptors, they play in Toronto, obviously, and Mississauga. The Raptors 905 play in Mississauga. So the venues aren't too far away, and it's almost like you have to make a decision because sometimes they play on the same day, and it's would I rather watch the 905 or would I rather watch the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah, affordability is a thing too.
Exactly.
Like if you want to take, like when I took my grandson, you've got that major league feel in there because they put on quite a show for 905
Absolutely.
as they do at the
Absolutely.
Raptors. So he was fascinated. So it didn't matter whether he was at a Raptor game or a 905. It was just a fun experience.
And it's a little more intimate with the
Yeah.
905. They're more
Yeah.
interactive.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get those players from the Raptors and stuff come down. Like Nick Nurse will come, Siakam, those guys will come down and show support, and you get to meet them as well. So
Well, and that's true. You know, I remember as a kid going to a junior game, and I didn't know the difference between that and an NHL game, but it's the intimacy. You get closer. It's smaller arenas. The players are more accessible
Yep.
because of it. Now, for the longest time, your story and the book is called Beyond My Glory. I want to talk about what that means.
Before My Glory.
I'm sorry, Before My Glory. I'm reading it upside down. Before, and I'm a very old man, Justin. I'm hoping to make the Raptors 306. That's when you open up a league in Saskatchewan. Well, I'll go back and play for it. Before My Glory, talk a little bit about why it's called that and some of the odds that were stacked against you and your journey to become one of the most respected development and wellness coaches. What is all that?
So, firstly, the reason I called it Before My Glory is because what I truly believe is every single one of us have a glory story inside of us, and everyone's glory point is different. So, for me and for someone else, it could be two different things. So, let's say I was training a kid. He never made a basketball team in his life. Finally, when he hits high school, grade 10, he makes his high school team. Now, he's never going to go on to get maybe a Division I scholarship or play in the NBA. But for him, that was his glory story. He overcame all the odds and everything that was stacked against him. He never made a team in his life before, and he was able to successfully do that. So that's a glory story for him. For me personally, it was, as I was growing up, everyone thought that I had so many, good things going for me. And
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Ottawa. Then
Okay.
I moved to Toronto at a young age when I was 8 years old. So everyone thought I had a lot of good things going for me because, when you look on the outside looking in, you see social media, you see, okay, he's coach at the NBA. He goes overseas quite often working with the NBA. He has his own academy. He does his own business. He does this. And it all looks great and dandy, which it was, and it is. But you don't see the work that goes behind it and all the things that had to come about just for one of these things to happen. With every success, I believe there's thousands of failures that come before that. And I just wanted people to be able to see the real version of me and how things actually are instead of just perceived.
Sure, because they look from the outside and they go, wow, this guy's got it all going on, yet they don't know you were an orphan.
Yep.
That you lost a family member
Yep.
early.
Yep. So all these things that I can't even say regular people, but regular people don't know and, would be hard for others to overcome are things that I had to overcome and get there. So, yeah, being an orphan when I was younger and not growing up with parents and then losing my brother recently 2 years later or getting, kicked out. I lost my scholarship when I was in university when I was the captain of the team. A lot of different things over my life came into place, and somehow I was able to put my head down and continue to do it.
So your message is, along the way, I mean, a lot of people get discouraged by certain things that pop up,
Yeah.
some of the things you've experienced. So your message is that you got to keep going.
Exactly, and those are two words that I always stand by. I was asked before what would be my saying or what would be my mantra, and I always said it's simple for me. It's just keep going, because no matter the circumstances or anything that you're going through, you have a choice to make.
So why did you lose your scholarship?
It's tough. I mean,
Where were you playing?
when I lost the scholarship,
Yeah.
I was playing in Newfoundland, so I was playing the CIS. So I had just come from New York. I was playing over there,
Right.
in Binghamton, and I took my last few years out in the CIS in Newfoundland. Ended up losing my scholarship because, the saying,
Your
nice guys
US
finish
scholarship.
last. No, I
What was
ended
it
up,
saying?
nice guys finish last.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened was, we had a pretty rough season the season before, and my coach said, "You're from Toronto. There's a lot of good kids out there. Would you be able to recruit somewhere? Like, help me get some guys out here."
This
I
is
said, "Sure."
Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, "Sure." So with doing that, I told a few of my buddies, or people I thought were my buddies at least, I grew up with.
Right.
We have opportunity. If you want a scholarship, go out there, try out, and you'll get a scholarship. I put my name, I'll vouch for you. So I did that. Put my name on the line, I vouched, got somebody free education. I'm thinking I'm doing a good thing, according to what they're telling me. So when this kid comes out here, or goes out there, he ends up getting in trouble the first day, gets arrested, it's just a mess.
Wow.
Again, while I was there, you're in university, so you go out, you're gonna go to the bars.
Of course, you're
gonna
live the life. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets arrested. I see him. I'm like, shoot, like I brought him out here. I don't want him to, put a bad name for himself or myself. So I saw him in the police car, and I said to the police as they're about to drive away, I jumped in front of the car. I said, look, you can't take him down there. He said, oh, this guy was doing this. He got into a fight. I asked him, I said, did you do the things that they're saying? Because I could speak to him through the thing. He said, no, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do anything. So I went back in front. I said, you can't take him down there. He didn't do anything. If you're going to take him, you got to take me, because I did exactly what he did.
Wow.
And I looked him in the eyes and said, did you do anything? Did you do any of this? He promised me, no, I didn't do it. Thankfully, we got off and we got let out. So that was like a warning shot for me. So police, because I already had a reputation there and as the captain of the team, they were like, okay, we trust what you're saying. We'll get him out if you bring him home. So I brought him home. Now, strike two. He ends up going to my coach's house in the middle of the night, 2 a.m.
What?
I don't know. Goes there, 2 a.m., starts causing a ruckus. And basically the coach came back to me and said, look, I don't know what's going on. I thought I told you something, and you went back and relayed it to him. He's not even on the team yet. Yes, we want him, but it's not official yet. And he said, I can't trust your word, and I can't trust what you're doing. So I'm going to have to remove you from the team.
Wow.
And so then there goes my basketball scholarship, my free education, my academic scholarship.
Right. So it was an academic scholarship.
I was on both.
Yeah, I didn't know they had athletic scholarships in Canada.
Yeah, they do. So
Really?
the difference is between here and the States is that it's not, when you get a scholarship in the States, it's more than likely going to be a full scholarship.
Yeah.
Over here, a full scholarship means that you get your tuition paid for, and you get your books paid
It's
for.
the partial ride versus the
so
full ride.
You won't
you're not getting
necessarily
you're not
get
getting
your
any housing.
Yeah.
And well, fast forward to now. The book is called Before My Glory. A couple quick things. Well, let me ask you the second question first, which is what stops most people from finding what their glory is? That's my second part. And what makes you so sought after as a development coach? Is it because of the struggles you've had and you can relate to other people and their struggles?
Yeah, what do you actually do with 905?
So I feel like what makes me so sought after is it's different for everyone. But what I realized is that I do a lot of the small things that others aren't doing. So when people are taking shortcuts, apparently I'm not. So I'll go in and I'll do everything from 1 to 10 without skipping any numbers. Some people are going in and they're going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You know what I mean? But I want to get everything and everything in between.
But what I think we're asking is, what does a development and wellness coach do for a team?
Oh, so what we actually do is, so me specifically, I'm an on-court skills development coach. So anything that has to do with them being on court, whether that be improving their ball handling, their dribbling, their shooting, anything like that. When it comes to off-court stuff, fitness, that's not me.
Okay.
So let's say Siakam wants to develop a better three-point shot, which he has. He'll spend hours and hours. He'll say, okay, Justin or whomever it is, we need you to do this. We got to develop a plan for him.
So when you look at a player and they're struggling with three-point or perimeter shooting or some specific skill, is it kind of like, I was going to say, almost like a golf swing coach or a batting coach where you're working on that skill? They're already high-level athletes,
Yep.
but you're looking for the little thing that they might not be aware of.
Exactly.
That can help them immensely.
Exactly. So it's similar to being a golf coach. Not that I have any experience doing that, but I'm imagining it's similar where, like you said, they are high-level athletes. You know, they've made it to a higher spot than you have, but they're not professionals in that craft, right? They know how to play basketball, but they still need small little tweaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go in there, study video, watch them, and see what they're doing, and then I'll have to make the exact little tweaks that I think are going to benefit them.
You know, we often talk about, or Howard does, we do, talk about golf being such a mental game. You take like the 3-pointer, against the Clippers. That was a disaster that night with the 3-pointers, because that was such a big game against, Kawhi. And then against Cleveland the other night, they're just draining them like crazy.
Yep.
So it's between the ears. Do you help with that aspect too?
Yeah, and I was going to say
From the wellness
a lot of the
aspects?
times it's mental. So again, with being a skills coach, it's not. So basically, it comes down to one or two things. Sometimes it's technique with certain players.
Sure.
Sometimes it's technique and repetition. So maybe their technique is good, but they just don't get enough reps.
And is there a third component, which is what Fred just referred to, which is I'm cool to shoot in this situation, but give me that situation, I start to freeze up a bit.
Yeah.
So now what we want to do is try to simulate game situations.
They call that transfer training now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put them in specific spots we know they're going to be in, and increase the level of difficulty to make it game-like or even harder, so that when the game comes, it's a knockdown shot.
Because I was thinking that the other night against Cleveland. I'm thinking, why weren't they doing this against the Clippers? You figure the size of the basketball, the size of the hoop, and then you take the distance.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No, absolutely
So any
not.
little bit of tenseness or, preoccupation with the situation, and that thing's not going to go.
But that's the fourth component that actually comes into play as well. So now you put in the reps. You have your great technique. You have the mental aspect. You've been shooting this game shot. But then a guy like Kawhi, which you can't train for unless Kawhi is actually there.
That's right.
He's vigorous on defense. He has big hands. He's a lockdown defender. There's no training that you can do for that.
No, that's just
there's no training because some guys excel. The Jordans, the Kawhis, the Kobes, the Tiger Woods. Some people just excel under pressure in a way that the rest of us don't. And you can train and technique, and you can watch film, and you can make sure that that the release is at the right spot. But under pressure, there aren't very many people that exceed at that level.
Well, isn't there a kid for the Cavaliers that's an unbelievable 3-point shooter? And again, that's something you can't. I mean, you can teach it, as you say, to a certain extent, but there's some that just have it and others that don't.
Yeah. But again, confidence plays a lot.
Yeah.
And those guys that you named, those guys are sickos.
Yeah, but they've and if you look back, and that's why it's hard sometimes, because we talk a lot about the average person who can play golf and why can't they play golf like professionals. But it's weird. Nobody ever thinks, why can't I shoot a 3-pointer like Kobe Bryant? Because you know what I'm saying, like the skills just don't transfer. But those guys have been great forever.
Yep.
They've been exceeding under pressure since they were little kids.
Yep.
Back to my second question, which was what prevents most people from finding their glory, and I think you kind of touched on it, which is most people don't want to do every step that something takes.
Yep.
Why don't people write short stories? Because the first one is hard.
Yep.
The first sentence is hard. Why don't people why aren't people in better shape? Because going to the gym is a drag.
Yep.
And so what about so when you speak about this, what prevents most people from finding it?
And just to touch on what you said, I think what stops people again is first of all, not everyone. We all say we want to do it, just like you're saying. We all say we want to go to the gym. We all say we want to become better people and want to do different things. But saying it and doing it is two different things, and it's actually night and day. And the first step is saying it. To me, the second step would actually be writing it down, and the third step, what comes after those two, would be to actually go out there and do it, and not just do it for one day, but do it on a consistent basis. Because we could all do anything for one day, and then that's not a glory story. That's kind of I'm on my way. That's a journey. You know what I mean? But you got to complete your journey in order to get to where you want to go.
Well, our whole society is built on shortcuts and convenience. It really is. I mean, from phones, like everything we do. And when it comes to, I think we carry that attitude into everything we do. You just want the shortest route to success. And there's more to it than that.
For me, it was crazy because people don't understand, like, there's been a lot of opportunities, and I speak about it in my book as well. There's been a lot of opportunities that I've had or that others have had but they've passed up because there was no paycheck attached to it. But for me personally, I knew that it would lead me one more step closer to where I want to be. And I feel like those things are detrimental on your journey and on your way to becoming who you want to be, because that's going to really show you your character and how bad do you want it. if I'm willing to work for free to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How bad do I really want it?
We've been that route with interns here on the show.
For 30 years.
For 30 years, the kids that come in and decide they want a job, they don't care about being paid right now, but the end goal is what they're concerned about. They're successful.
Exactly.
Justin Allman, his book is called Before My Glory. Can you tell us where it might be available?
So currently it's available online on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com.
All
Anywhere
right.
on Amazon you can get it. That is the ebook version. The hard copy version will also be available online as well on Amazon. I don't know what's going on with them. They
It's
should,
very
should be
nice.
there. Should be there by the end of this week.
Just before I let you go, I have some friends that work with tour players, PGA tour players, and I always ask them the same thing, like, what's it like when you're next to, Tiger or, Justin Thomas? What's the sound of the golf ball? How fascinating is it to see, like, the best in the world? What about you? You had a pretty front row seat to some of the best, NBA players in your time with the 905. Can you just give us like how much better, any stories about like, if you think you're pretty good, then you see Kawhi up close like who was the most impressive up close?
Kawhi. I would say Kawhi. The first time I saw him, because again, I was working with the 905. So yes, it is the development team for the Raptors. So we do a lot of work in coordination with them. So sometimes like for 5 months, I just did Raptor stuff. And then I go back to G League. Then we go back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I walked into practice and I seen Kawhi, he wasn't practicing. He was actually just working on, he was doing a workout. And everybody's walking by because I guess they've already been there and met him. And I just stopped. And the whole line kept going. And I'm like, looking at people like, this is Kawhi Leonard. Do you guys understand? Like,
Yeah.
This is Kawhi Leonard. You're just
Yeah.
going to walk by him like he's not a person? That, like, and I didn't even get to see him on the court yet, but I felt like I was like, this is
So when
crazy.
when you do watch him up close on the court, it's pretty special, huh?
Yeah, and because he's like a freak of nature. Like, he shook my hand, and a regular handshake it's hand on hand.
Yeah.
His was like hand on forearm. It was like, you shook my whole arm, not my. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, it was great meeting you. The 905 Raptors 905 development coach, Justin Allman. Thank you very much for coming in. All the best for the holidays, and hope this was an okay experience for you.
Great experience.
I don't know. Could you maybe? Is there any way? Like, he's going to be. I think he's 63. I'm going to be 60 in January.
No way.
Is there any development that we could do that would get us, not a scholarship maybe, but could you develop our skills? Maybe we could be like those plucky, old power.
We could do something, and if you want to play in a men's league,
Sure.
an older men's league,
A very older men's
then
league.
you could definitely stand out.
I just want to learn to post up. I got long arms. I feel like it.
The old school
defend.
moves.
Exactly.
We could do that.
I'm up here with you now.
For guys in their 60s, do they lower the basket a bit?
I wish they would.
Absolutely not.
You know what might be
Absolutely
nice?
not,
No,
yeah.
it might be nice to have one of those bouncy things. Just bounce
Hey,
up.
you know what? I think Michael Jordan's in his 60s now, or soon to be.
Yeah.
He's not lowering in any nets. So.
All right.
You know what? I've perfected the air ball. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have. You know what?
Yes, I have.
He was the pioneer of that.
Wow.
We're going to take a break. It's Humble and Fred Radio. HumbleandFredRadio.com. Come on back.
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one.
Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with you. Where is Santa and who's there? And tell her why is it always this way? Where is Rudolph? Where is Blitzen, baby?
All right, you lot are rolling. Ready? Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. How the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. Fun and it's to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle! A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride. A sailor's funny bride was sitting by my side. My horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. Until we hit a stairway back and then we end up shot. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. The ground is wide, go at it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing their sleighing song. Just get a bobtail babe to body for his speed. Hitch him to a sleigh and then you take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. First thing we climb a tree, and maybe then we'd talk, or sit silently and listen to our thoughts with illusions of song.
It's Humble and Fred Radio. Did you ever play any basketball?
Just a bit as a kid, nothing formal, but Johnny Slapshot, we call him Johnny Slapshot. That's his favorite sport. He loves basketball. In fact, I'm looking for
a net?
Yeah.
Johnny B-ball.
One of the portable ones, yeah.
You know, it's Humble and Fred Radio, by the way, on Funny 820. Phil's here. Sean's here. Justin Allman just left, Raptors 905 development coach. I played a lot of street ball as a kid. Somebody had when my kids were little, I found an old, I bought it off a garage sale, a net, and we had it for years in my driveway. And me and the girls would shoot baskets. I just like it. I like the the physical motion of it. Again, horrible shooter. No, not a great dribbler.
Yeah, back in '96, I bought a Raptors backboard when they first came to be, and it was on our garage for years as well. And then Johnny Slapshot loves it so much. In the fall there, he wanted to play basketball one day. I didn't have a hoop, so I just got a cardboard box. And I bungee corded to a tree. And he stood out there for hours throwing the ball through the
Like
ball.
Dr. Naismith.
Yeah.
The Canadian who invented basketball.
It wasn't even a bushel basket. It was a cardboard box.
There was a time when I first went on the road, Phil, as a comic. I had this, I don't know why, Lou Skeezes and my older brother David and I started playing pickup ball with some guys at a gym in Calgary. And so I sort of continued it. And when I went on the road, I would go to a local Y, and there was always a game going on. I really just liked it. Mostly I just was the white guy running up and down the court trying to touch the ball. But I like it. It's like, if you like sports, it's the 5-on-5. It's kind of got a hockey feel to it. You've got the defensive, you got the offensive. But yeah, very early on, I realized I'm not the best. I can do a layup, but I'm not a great perimeter shooter.
Right.
My turnaround jump shot.
Right.
How about you? Can you shoot a little bit?
I don't know.
We should play pig
I
sometime.
just don't know.
Did you ever play pig? You ever play horse? Those
No.
type of games?
No, I played 21, but
Well, no, you know what those games are.
No.
Pig, P-I-G-H-O-R-S.
No.
You ever played that in your
No,
life?
no.
Sean?
We always
Of
played
course.
21.
Yeah.
No,
Horse.
I've never. I didn't.
But have you heard of those games? You know what those
What
games
do you
are?
do? You get a letter every time you stick one? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't actually.
Yeah. Well, don't get aggravated.
Oh, I'm not.
I think
You get a pig if you score, or
You know, you mentioned Howard to him watching these guys close up. I remember the first experience I had, believe it or not, because I was a sportscaster all the years. I think it was 95 or whatever. The NHL was on strike, and then they put this league together so the players could stay in shape. And I took Danny one night to Hamilton for one of these games, and we were right rinkside, and watching Eric Lindros, it was like I'd never, just being that close to see and watch that guy in motion and how powerful and strong and skilled he was. I'll never forget that. It was like nothing I'd ever seen out of a hockey player before, that close in action.
It's pretty impressive when you think about the number of hockey games you would have seen up close.
Right, but they're always from
Yeah.
No, they're always from up in the press box, but that was the one thing I'll always remember, because that guy had size and speed and skill, and he was a beautiful hockey player.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't have was a spongy
The
head.
noggin, yeah.
The noggin got spongy after a while.
It didn't keep his head up.
LifeLab ransom story. We've hinted at that. LifeLab, most people know that, your doctor sends you for a blood test. This LifeLab company is everywhere. In fact, they're just down the street. They do x-rays and blood tests. And like in a movie, this is a part of the story that I love, somebody has held them ransom and they've paid it.
Yeah, there was a security breach. The information of 15 million Canadians, apparently, which would be their, all their personal information, their health card numbers, maybe Visa numbers if you paid online.
possibly images of their things, being X-rayed.
All
and
their
stuff.
blood work,
Their
all
blood
their
work.
intimate blood work.
As I
Phil,
said,
you know what I'm talking about.
all my PSAs. But it come out after the fact that yesterday they issued an apology to Canadians, but during the actual controversy, they didn't talk about it. But there was a security breach, and whoever stole the information comes back to them and says, if you want this information back, you got to pay us X amount of dollars. They didn't say what they paid in ransom, but they admitted, we paid the ransom to get the information back. And then you have to assume that you got the information back and they didn't just duplicate it.
Well, how do you
or
know?
whatever.
That was the
You
question.
d-
Everyone's
you don't.
asking that question. How do you know?
But see, they're not releasing the details of that, not how much they paid in ransom or exactly how the whole thing came down.
Well, there must be. Listen, the fact that somebody's paying ransom is just so extraordinary.
Sure.
You don't hear about that very often.
Right.
This isn't Lindbergh, baby.
No.
But there must, before a company like that would pay a ransom, they would have to have a cryptic guarantee of somehow, digitally or some way,
Right.
to know that, okay, if we've paid this, we've got the information
So
back.
a couple of banks were hacked a couple of years ago, and so that proof was when the hackers gave them account details of a couple of random people, and so that's basically the proof that the hackers have it.
And the old days, if there was a ransom, the police were hiding around the corner and waiting for the transaction. Now you have to pay this ransom. You have no idea who it is, where it's going. There's no way of catching them. And often companies don't want to pay these ransoms because it sets a bad precedent.
Yeah, but if you're Life Labs and you want to stay in business,
I guess. But again, what guarantee, and I would love to get that information, what guarantee do you have? Because everything's so easily duplicated. How do you know they haven't sold off that information already?
That's the
before
spooky part,
Yeah.
because we don't know until there's a leak of some sort.
well, that's the thing. So many parts of this story are left unfinished, Phil.
Unanswered.
And
Unanswered.
and again,
Thank you.
And I think by design, because they don't want to give others ideas or whatever.
Right.
But, as they say, it's never good to pay a ransom. But apparently in this new world, it's what you got to do.
I mean, you just wonder, like in a movie, like the president of Life Labs, she or he is at one point going, "We don't deal with terrorists or whatever. We don't negotiate." And they're like, "Well, Mr. President or Madam President, we have to. They have your DNA or something." I don't know.
On my desk at home, I have, from Life Labs now, a bill because my last PSA I had to pay for because I'm no longer in the danger area. And it's like $30. and you can pay online. And I'm sitting there last night going, do I really want to pay this online now? But apparently the problem is over, but still it gives me pause, and that's what Life Labs is going to have to deal with going forward. People are going to be a bit freaked out.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, of those 15 million, records, at least half of that is your PSA test.
Oh, I had another. Oh, yeah. You again.
Your prostate with ransom.
Well, I'm still. I had physicals, and I had a lot of doctor visits there in the fall, and I think it's great. But the one thing I have left undone is the test where you're supposed to take the popsicle stick, put your poopy on a thing, and send it to the government
and shake it all about.
I'm not sure. I just noticed the other day I haven't done that. I did my PSA. I did all everything, but I haven't.
Instead of a colonoscopy.
I've had a colonoscopy.
No, instead of.
No, sir. My doctor.
The poop thing is that a lot of people do that instead of.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But because my doctor thought, we haven't done the poop smear popsicle stick fun, maybe we should do it again. I just haven't done it.
But
now,
you had a colonoscopy not long ago.
Not that long, in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Because the two buddies I went to Florida with, neither one is at a colonoscopy, but they do the poop scoop.
Yeah.
And their doctors claim that's all you need to do because if anything shows up. But they were telling me this new kit, you lay the thing on the water, right, of the toilet, and then you poop on it so it doesn't sink. And then you do your little scoopy thing, which would be horrid. And then you put it in the vial. It's quite the thing. And then you put it in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I don't have one of those kits. I got the old-fashioned kit where you popsicle stick your poo, stick it on the window, close that up, and then send it in.
No, I know, but
yeah.
So what if your poop sinks? I know it stinks. What if it sinks?
Well, you still have to reach in there and scoop it out with the popsicle
well, this
stick.
new thing.
Well, I don't have
you
the new
lay
thing.
it on the water so that your poop is floating. It's easily accessible.
When Anne Murray came in here and colonoscopy shamed me,
right?
We had this same conversation because my doctor for years maintained that the fecal smear test or whatever it's called can pick up microscopic blood in your matter.
Right.
That is not picked up in a colonoscopy. So that's why a lot of doctors don't think. They think if your PSA is clear and your poop thing's clear and your digital exam is clear, you don't need a colonoscopy. But at a certain age, over 50, Anne Murray recommends that you get one.
I don't think I'm going to do it again. I think I'm going to go with the poop on a blanket and the stick thing. I think I am.
Poop on a blanket.
Because
I got a 10 years.
Because some doctors, they maintain that, there are certain risks to colonoscopies where, your colon could be ruptured.
Perforated, yes.
Perforated,
exactly.
ruptured.
No one
so I
needs
think the next time, I think I'm going to go that route.
All right.
As weird as it seems. But listen, when you have to clean yourself up, when you have to give yourself the enema prior to the...
Not an enema.
Or whatever it is. What do you call it then?
The laxative?
Well,
you drink the thing.
Yeah, but it's not an enema. You don't shoot water up your hoop.
Okay, well maybe that was something else I had it for.
You probably had that just for fun. You went to Brampton Enema Clinic.
No, I had to take a fleet. You don't have to do a fleet enema before your colonoscopy?
No, sir. You do.
Well, then I had to do a fleet enema for something.
Ooh.
Now that's that's squeezing it up your hoop.
Oh yeah,
and then laying in the bathtub or whatever and expelling.
Okay.
What?
Well, that wasn't fun. That was for you. Doll probably cooked that up for one of your sexcapades out there in Brampton.
So what you drink the thing for the colonoscopy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then you
it's
go.
called Ducalax.
Right, and then you go.
You can do it for like 24 hours. You clean yourself out.
Well, maybe it was a kidney thing. I did
a
a fleet enema.
Talk about my problems. You talking about my medical issues.
Oh yeah, that fleet enema. Like you squeeze it up there, and then it's like, whoa!
I just had this weird vision of Fred all dressed up in latex and dolls administering this thing to him. He's not allowed to speak.
Don't use the bidet at Fred's house.
No, exactly.
I can't speak because I have a Phil Esposito ball in my mouth.
Exactly. Orange ball. I know what you're talking about. Just a couple quick emails here, guys. I was sad to see. Let me see here.
Hey, guys.
Our buddy Tommy Leonowitz, Baby Tom, says, hey, all. Hello, all. He says, I can't make it, but I wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. Thanks for the great shows you put on. You are welcome, Baby Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
There's one for you. Hi, Fred, it says.
Yes, from David Kemp, David J. Kemp. Yep, the nudist camp is still there. A couple of years ago, I forgot to empty the black tank on my RV trailer before the Thanksgiving weekend. The nudist camp was the only campground still open. I called to ask if I could dump my tank, but they told me I had to be a member first. He said I kept looking. So he didn't want to go to the... he didn't want to join the nudist camp.
Hi, guys.
To get rid of his black water.
Debbie Lynch has some tips for Dan Duran to get mice out from under the dishwasher. That's cool. And Scotty Acton says, fellas, in my winter vacation planning, I had a question about the service. Talking about Gig Sky. We've heard this dozens of times. I emailed Rudra, says Scott, and he responded within minutes. Rudra is like the VP of this entire company, yet if you hit him up, he will hit you back, or whatever the kids say. He says, a great podcast, I guess that's us, with amazing customer service. Oh, I'm sorry. A great product. Thought it was about us. A great product with amazing customer service. I'm glad I became a Gig Sky customer thanks to you buggers. Are you listening, potential advertisers? This is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
You become an advertiser. You're the Gig Sky of the future. And people love you because of this program. Figure it out. Thank you to all. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. We should talk a little bit about
the Leafs winning last night.
Yes, and the Leafs. What is going on? Your team is on a roll.
They've won. A week or so ago, they say the Leafs going to make the playoffs. Like they have to have like a 666 winning percentage down the stretch. Well, since Sheldon Keefe took over as coach, they've won 8 of 12. What is that, Howard?
8 of 12 is well above that. It's about 75%.
8 of 12?
Yeah.
Is it not 2/3?
67%.
Yeah. Well,
it's 66. It's 666.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
So they're on track.
Fantastic.
So far. But then last night, I'll tell you, if you didn't see the game, a couple of goals that Austin Matthews scored, especially the second one, did you see him dance through that defense and then roof that backhand? It was just a thing of beauty. It really was. You want to talk about athletes that are a cut above.
Yeah.
The special ones, like it was something else.
I happened to be on some site, and there was a meme of a Sidney Crosby goal. Now, he's a left shooter, and it was from the right-hand side of the goal, basically on the goal line itself. He was just above it. The goalie there was nothing. And he scored a goal in a place you didn't think was possible over the goalie's shoulder. Like, it's on the near side. And it was one of those things, I watched it over and over. I just kept trying to think, how did he even see that? Because when you first see it, you're like, where's he shooting? And it went in between the near side of the goalie's shoulder and it was about an opening the size of a puck. Again, something you can't imagine a human being doing, and yet a guy like Sid did it with regularity.
You know, and that's Sid. And again, what I have trouble with, not even trouble, it's hard for me to digest that guy that scored that goal last night is wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf sweater. Because for decades, we didn't have anybody like that. I mean, Matt Sundin was good. Dougie was... They didn't score goals like that. They weren't super sort of special. And believe me, Austin Matthews still has a ways to go to become the complete hockey player. But it was something, and and Jack Eichel for Buffalo last night, it was quite, especially the third period, it was quite a showcase of talent. Fun to watch.
And so ever since, Darth Babcock has left the team, there's a lightness, they seem to be liberated. They're liberated. There's a different spirit to the team.
Yeah. No, definitely, without a doubt. And the players will say that right up front. There's a whole different attitude. It's a lot more fun, and I guess that's what it's all about, especially with today's young player. You better keep some levity. You're going to lose them.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to think where this screenshot is. I have a burps and fart. Oh, yeah. Research finds that feeding cows seaweed, Phil, cuts 99% of greenhouse gas emission from their burps and farts.
Burps and
but
farts.
Do they like it?
Burps and farts.
Do they like it, or they'll eat anything?
Burps and farts.
Burps and farts.
I don't know, but that's
Hey, let a farta.
hey, burps and farties.
Cows and seaweed and burps and farts.
Hey. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because basically is that story. I only brought the story up because of the phrase burps and farts.
Get your Hey Google over near this microphone.
It's always every
What?
time you say something.
So
every
turn
time
the-
you
but
say
turn the
that,
sound
like,
on.
Yeah, so we can hear it. Like over here.
turn
So
it-
anyway, I go.
Put it up to your microphone. You have a microphone
Yeah,
right there
right.
by your face.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. What did you want him to do?
Well, I walked into the house the other day, my daughter's house, and the kids were ecstatic. It was, hey, Papa, watch this. And then you say to it, hey, Google, what does a fart sound like?
So do it.
Hey Google, what does a fart sound like? Oh.
And wouldn't you know it?
It's a silent fart. Yeah.
Yeah, silent but deadly. That was a silent
SPD.
one.
SPD. All right. Anyway.
Well, there's hey Google, pull my finger.
Anyway,
Wow.
I walk in and hey, Papa, watch this. And it was, what does a fart sound like? And every time you ask it, it's a different fart.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody has actually loaded that thing with different fart sounds.
You know, sometimes
Crazy.
I would just, for a day, would like to have a program director, again, just to call, so we could go into his office after this show and go, guys, let me just play you this break from about 8:45. If you're going to have a fart sound effect, maybe you should have it ready. There's a lot
Yeah.
of...
Well, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, my volume was turned down off the first one, but yeah.
Okay,
turn
we'll
it
try
back
it
up.
Do it
Try
again here.
now.
Hey,
So what?
Google.
So what is the trick? You say, "Hey Google, what?"
What does this fart sound like?
Or yeah, make a fart noise. That's
Well,
one of
just
them
do
too.
something.
Yeah. Hey Google, make a fart noise.
This is a fart.
I love that.
See, and then if you asked it again, it would be a different
Try again.
Hey Google, make a fart noise.
This is a fart.
See?
I like. It's very
Right.
formal though. She goes, "This is a fart."
Yeah. Now, can you imagine like a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old? How that just sends them over the moon?
Yep.
That's
the greatest
awesome.
thing ever.
That really is the greatest
Can
thing.
you imagine a 59-year-old and a
And a
63-year-old?
63-year-old?
It sends them over the moon.
That's right. Oh, I'm going to go back upstairs and hey Google, make some fart sounds all the live long day. You mentioned, did we ever expand on this story about Cineworld buying Cineplex? Did we ever get to that? Because I wrote it down. I wasn't sure if we had done it.
Fascinating story.
It is a fascinating story,
Yeah.
considering that,
Cineworld out of Britain
Yes.
bought Cineplex Canada for what, $2.5 billion or something?
Yeah.
And I asked you, Howard, there's still that kind of value in that? Like, it just blows me away.
well, for movies like, the Star Wars, things like that, I still think that there's a thrill to going to see something on the big screen. Although I saw a great movie last night with best friend Dave. Saw a movie called Knives Out. Now, it's not the kind of movie you have to see in a movie theater, but I would tell you it's a great film. Lots of fun, an old-fashioned kind of murder mystery.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have... It didn't necessarily... it was fun seeing it on a big screen. You wouldn't have to.
Although Sean made a good point, and I think you've made this point, and I've noticed myself. I don't go to movies a lot, but when I go to my Silver City Brampton, whenever I go, there's a lot of people in there still.
Yeah, man.
And,
it was packed last night.
I saw Adam Sandler on Ellen, and he's a new movie coming out. Something about he's a jeweler or something of gems or something. And I forget the name. I shouldn't have brought it up unless
Is
I
it
had more
a
information.
theatrical release or Netflix?
No, it's in the movies. It could be Netflix, the same thing.
No, because he's got a huge deal with
Yeah.
Netflix. He produced, I think, 3 or 4 movies already for them. It was hundreds of millions of dollars to get him to bring his stuff there.
It's called Uncut Gems. This movie. And I guess it's playing now. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, the point is he was on Ellen. It looked good.
Hey, before we go, we got to talk about, we've already mentioned Palma Pasta here tomorrow. Do you want to just do this here, Palma Pasta?
Oh, right there.
Right,
Yep.
give that to Fred.
Here we are.
We're going to do a podcast extra today. It'll be our last podcast extra of 2019. There'll be a lot of stuff on it. Stick around if you can. Go to humbleandfredradio.com to download it.
Hey, entertaining for the holidays. Everybody is, eh? Well, why don't you drop into any one of the 4 retail locations of Palma Pasta, 3 in Mississauga, including the new Palma's Kitchen which is absolutely fantastic in Mississauga. And there's a location in Oakville as well, you know, gourmet chews, fruit spreads, cured meats, all your needs for the Christmas break. Yeah, Palma Pasta. Go to palmapasta.com, see what they have, then, hey, head out and check it out.
We, of course, recommend Strain Print. Use cannabis better. This free Strain Print companion app on Apple or Google Play, strainprint.ca. Just to remind you, it's the Fitbit of weed. Check in and see what other people are doing and what they're using in terms of their cannabis journey, whether it's medical or recreational. On the podcast extra today, I'll tell you about the latest thing that's confounding our government when it comes to pot, driving, trying to figure that out. In the meantime, our friends at Strain Print want you to download their thing at strainprint.ca. All right, thanks to Justin Allman, 905, and Retirement Sherpa. Thanks to all y'all for hanging out with us. Our final broadcast tomorrow from the Humble and Fred Queensway studios. And as I mentioned, a podcast extra at humbleandfredradio.com.
This episode of Humble and Fred Radio is brought to you by FYI Music News, The Retirement Sherpa, Gig Sky, The Chambers Plan, Strain Print, Palma Pasta, CDN Technologies, and our newest sponsor, Sticker U, where you can get your stickers on Queen Street or order anywhere in the world. We broadcast to the world from the worldwide headquarters of the Humble and Fred Show. More Humble and Fred tomorrow and online at humbleandfredradio.com.
I needed love most of all. Someone said true love was dead, and I'm bound to fall for you. Oh, what can I do?
So, yeah, tomorrow, party, Christmas party. I wonder, I know you said your brother-in-law, Brandon, no, not Brandon, Clyde. Brandon's having a watch party. I wonder, I think Ian Service will probably show up, Cavs. Who else? I don't, I'm not 100% sure that we'll see me Chiney.
He said he already said once today he's coming, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, does he say he's going to come and present himself or come and incognito?
He was just saying he's one more 24 hours till the farty party.
Farty.
Okay, stupid.
So someone who's listened for a while.
Isn't it funny? Like, have you ever seen Stupid Asso and Meet Chinese in the same place? Or
I have not.
On the same thread?
No,
I haven't.
No.
Did they
It's interesting. Ever since we got Twitch, this whole year, it's been a very quiet time in the Stupid Asso world.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
That's why, if it is Stupid Asso, I don't, because he's never shown up because he's afraid. That's fine. People using a driving simulator showed no signs of impairment a day after they smoked cannabis, though they still tested positive for THC. The research has implications for laws and workplace rules that require no trace of THC. On and on and on. So the biggest, this scientist, a retired professor, said, I consider it one of the biggest myths about cannabis that there are 24-hour hangover effects that are measurable. When people smoke cannabis, they're only impaired for a short period of time. You could have THC in your bloodstream, but you're not a danger. So why this is significant is because, as I've said this now 167 times, the government is trying to make the argument that drinking and driving high are the same. And you know how I feel about this. They are, and this is what the study proves, they are not the same things. For instance, I have a friend of mine who was drinking with his buddies out in Peterborough and drinking quite heavily on a golf thing, went to bed at about midnight, 11:30 midnight, still hammered, woke up at 6, got in his car, drove down the 115/35, got caught for impaired. Still had enough, not a lot, wasn't double the limit, but was over the legal limit and was considered impaired. But you could argue that he wasn't physically impaired anymore to drive a car. He wouldn't have driven a car at midnight, but by the rules of the law, he was given an impairment. THC, on the other hand, even though it stays in your system, the impairment period is so short, as he says, truncated. It's immediate. And then after that, you're fine. Whereas alcohol doesn't wear off at the same rate. The buzz doesn't stay with you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a totally different effect. And, like, you could have drinks before you go to bed. You wake up in the morning, you're hungover. You can smoke a joint at night, wake up in the morning, there's almost no effects. There's very little left to your high.
Sounds to me like a cash cow for lawyers.
Well, and this is why I think
if people are going to be charged with this, and then you have that science behind it.
Exactly.
It's going to take, you know what I mean? You're going to have to fight it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good news for lawyers.
This thing's a weapon now.
And we still don't have a number for
that's
what
the
limit is.
So this researchers at CAMH here gave people 10 minutes to smoke cannabis to any level they chose, then tested them in a driving simulator. So because they were allowed to do their own thing, they were at various levels of impairment. They ranged from 0 to 42 nanograms per milliliter. I'm not even sure what that means. Anyway, the scenario involved a 9-kilometer drive on a stretch of rural highway. Immediately after smoking, the group showed signs of impairment, centering the car poorly, etc. But a further test 24 and 48 hours later, where they still had detectable levels of THC, but performed it normally in the driving simulator. So I bring it up again because, as I say, the government's in a bit of a pickle because they're trying to discourage people from driving high, which I get. But the problem is the argument isn't the same as drinking and driving. And in fact, I can tell you from personal experience that, when you're, I almost never get too high, but when I'm, at the highest I would ever get, smoking some shatter or whatever, watching Netflix, I don't want to go anywhere near my car. Like, seriously. Maybe if I've lost my vape pen. Where's my vape pen,
They
Phil?
got to change the name of that thing to Shatter. Sounds scary.
Yeah, it's
Shatter.
It's
It
good.
does.
Well, it's like drinking 40 proof rum,
Yeah, but it's, you know what I mean? It's like Shatter. I don't know.
Shatter, dabs. But you know what I'm saying, Sean? Like, if I'm high, I don't want to go near my car. Whereas sometimes drunks will be like that, a belligerent, I can fucking drive. I
know. They do, and
They
some
do.
don't. Just like some guys drive high and shouldn't.
Well, and
can't.
It's been different for so many years. Like, look back at like Cheech and Chong era smoking weed. That was the Doob Cruise age of the hippie. You would drive, and then you'd see the guy smoking with the smoke coming out the side of the windows.
Of course. There's people that abuse everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All situations. To your point, how they, it was, a lot of this stuff should have been thought of beforehand. Because if somebody, so what you're saying, let's be clear on this. So I smoked, I got high the day before. There's still THC in my system.
Yes.
The cops pull me over for some reason. They
Yep.
want to test me.
Yep.
Good, bad, or indifferent. They should or they shouldn't. It's still in my system. I can be charged.
In Ontario, drivers violating a zero-tolerance rule for THC face a 3-day license suspension, $250. You want to know about a cash cow?
Yeah.
$250 fine and a $281 license reinstatement fee. If I got pulled over right now, there isn't a day that I could get pulled over without a trace of THC in my system. Not a day.
So what's the solution?
Saskatchewan, new drivers in the province, these are new drivers, with any level of THC, face a 60-day license. I think in Ontario, that's a zero tolerance for new drivers. I don't know what
that's also true for
I
alcohol.
don't know,
Is it?
I for the life of me can't imagine what the solution is for that. So what is the test? So I was high yesterday, not today. The cops pull me over for whatever reason. Give me a test. There's THC. What's the solution
I don't
for
know.
that?
But to your point, later on in the article, they say zero tolerance THC restrictions for new drivers open to charter challenge. Now, these are restrictions for new drivers. I don't think that there's a zero tolerance for THC in everyday drivers.
Right.
But those restrictions are for, younger drivers, just as Phil said.
G1, G2.
Just the
graduate
same way
licensing.
with new drivers
That's
and
the way
alcohol.
it is here then?
It
For
is.
new drivers, yes.
Zero.
tolerance.
So you would be okay.
I'd be okay. I guess but again, to your point, Sean, they don't have a number yet.
They're coming up with one, but they don't have one yet. So that's what you were kind of looking at there was that. So in this study, they range from 0 to 42 nanograms per millimeter of what they smoked, and that would be nearly 10 times the legal limit.
Okay.
So there is sort of a number, but it's such a shady area because you don't know how high everyone is individually. Like you could
Well, what
be
he means by number is
0.08.
exactly.
blow on this, here's the number. Again, back to the solution. So your buddy who gets caught the next day, it's like, okay, 0.08, I'm sorry, I don't care when you drank.
Right.
So you get stopped today and there's THC in your system, you say, new driver or whatever, the situation. Oh, but I was high yesterday. That was yesterday. I haven't done it today. Where's the mechanism to say you're right? Oh, okay, you're good to go.
I don't know. That's a great
that's
question.
the dilemma.
That is, and this has been the dilemma with this since they made it legal. And as you brought up again, there was a lot of things that should have been thought of.
Yes.
There had to be some, but again, you can't think of everything. But this is one of those things, and I've made this point before. It's not like driving drunk. The government has to find a way to. It's the language because, as I've said before, you can have a couple beers and have a slight buzz on, but you're not drunk. But in the cannabis vernacular, you're either high or you're not high. But as we all know who use it regularly, there's a big difference between slightly high and too high. Mm-hmm. That there's the problem with the language. There's no nuance that allows to be a little bit of a buzz going, like going to have a few beers watching a game or at a friend's house having a glass of wine and getting in your car and driving. You're not drunk. And same way if I had one hit off a joint and got in my car, I'm not drunk. I'm not high. It was 25 minutes ago. It was an hour ago. It's worn off. You know, really, really good weeds gets you high right away, but it crests like a wave, and in 15 minutes, you're on the other side of it. And you might feel nice and warm for a little bit longer, but you're not blasted. You're not, whoa, that feeling?
Well,
Sean, you know that
to
feeling.
your point, you don't even want to drive.
No, but I'm saying, like, you're an hour after that, you might have THC in your system, just like you might have a beer or two in your system. You're not impaired by any
No, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Description of being impaired.
I guess the key word here is influence, because it takes a police officer to find visual cues and to see if you're mentally...
Yeah, they pull you over, you got a couple bags of cheesies, and,
you would have to be out.
What is the probability? So you're high today. Tomorrow you're driving with THC. Mm-hmm. What is the probability that a cop is going to want to test you?
Yeah.
On what grounds?
Well, now they don't even. This just happened this past month. They don't even need a reason to test you for alcohol anymore.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier this year.
Yeah, so like you can just be stopped on the side of the road for no reason at all and breathalyzed.
But you know what
and
I
think
mean.
you're
No, I know what
too.
you're saying. Like they stick their head in the car. It smells like weed. You've got, like I said, you've got cheesies. You're
right.
Some, I was trying to do this joke, but here's how they know you're too high. Mm-hmm. You've pulled over on the 401. You're trying to order Uber Eats to your car. You get on a plane. Your carry-on luggage is Chinese food. They know you're fucking high, Phil.
That's correct.
But they don't, like, if they pull me over in a random check, yes, if there are obvious signs, then they would test me.
Well, that's what I mean. Let's go to the probability factor. Mm-hmm. The chances are the day after you've been high and a cop stops you, probability is very, very minute, tiny,
Yes.
that they're all of going to say, Mr. Glassman, we want to test you for whatever. The ones that are getting the publicity, I guess, is that situation. The cop pulls him over. The guy's been smoking in his car. You know what I mean? There's just telltale signs that would give the flags would go up to test him. Mm-hmm. Then again, it becomes a legal thing. That was if it was genuinely yesterday and there's THC in my system, but I'm not high, then get a lawyer. And it
then,
sucks.
And then what does it do, as the article said, also for workplace restrictions? If you have a bunch of beers with your friends Friday and Saturday night, you take Sunday off to recover, and you've been hammered for 2 days, you go to work on Monday morning, you might still have some trace elements of alcohol in your system, but that's perfectly okay. Use the same scenario in a lot of companies. If you showed up for work with trace of THC, they may have a zero tolerance of THC in your system, and it's 48 hours ago, the last time you used it.
Yeah, but that's going to be part of the evolution of accepting cannabis.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. And probably we should have been before it was legalized. But then again, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's... believe me, we're not going to have we won't be having these conversations 10 years, maybe 5 years, whatever years from now, because they'll figure that end of it out. They really will. I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it's going to be so. Do you think judges are going to want to sit
no
here
one's
and deal
gonna
with
wanna
this
sit-
shit?
But I think at some point the language around it has to change. We have to come up with new descriptors. Yes, sir.
I think that's going to happen when all these major corporations step in, like Coca-Cola and the beverage companies, and it's all edibles now. But wait till they have to actually have a number or percentage on that can of whatever Coca-Cola is making. They're going to be the ones that come up with the number, and that's what I see coming.
2020 is not just about in the cannabis world. I know edibles were made legal in October. They're about to be available any day now, like in the official places like the Canna Clinics and the what is that place called? Honey Pot and Nova Cannabis. Sort of the government-run THC outlets. But the big one coming in 2020 is cannabis or THC-infused drinks, beverages, wine. Our friends, Hill Street Beverages were in here a few months ago talking about, creating beverages for people with THC in it because, less and less people want to combust the flower and more people want to try having THC in another form.
So, yeah, and how is that? Then it's like an alcoholic beverage, but with a different high.
Right. Shawnee.
Yes. We have. I know we've already been.
You mentioned that one of your stories is the 30th anniversary
Of Humble and Fred.
of The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's right.
We started the same year as The Simpsons,
and about
I
a
think
week
we've had
difference.
equal. I think we've enjoyed an equal amount of success.
Yeah, we can tell. This is not Matt Groening's office, but that's cool. 30 years. You guys share that with The Simpsons.
So we all know that The Simpsons existed before as a skit and Tracy Ullman show. But this is
exactly.
the anniversary of the actual TV show. It was
First
terrible.
air date was yesterday.
I wonder, because
1989.
I was actually going to bring that up, that a lot of Simpsons fans would know this, but that it started as a bit on this woman, Tracy Ullman, who was a very fine comedian. I wonder if she was ever pieced off because it was her show that debuted the creation of this comic characters. And I wonder if she ever got any part of that, or if she was, a percentage of it. I don't know.
I heard she.
Do your research.
Yeah, Google.
I heard.
What? Hey, Google, just some fart sounds.
I heard the original Marge Simpson was Tracy Ullman's voice, so she might have a bit of a stake in that.
Yeah. Somewhere around year 10 or 15, the entire cast, Harry Shearer and all those others, sort of had a break with the producer saying we need to get paid more money. The voices of The Simpsons, because remember, it started as it's a cartoon. It was just something that was on out there somewhere, but it became so popular. They've all become multi-zillionaires from it.
Yeah.
Lawsuit. Ullman filed a lawsuit in 1992 claiming that her show was the source of The Simpsons' success and therefore should receive a share of the show's profit. The Fox network had paid her $58,000 in royalties for The Simpsons, as well as $3 million for 3.5 seasons. It was on her show, but other than that, the answer is no. She did not get ongoing compensation.
Sucker.
But still, though, the Fox network only being 2 years old at the time, I'm sure that's a good chunk of money for Tracy.
Oh no, Tracy Ullman.
$3 million for 3.5 seasons on her show. I think that's pretty good.
Not bad.
What do you mean?
Well, she got $3 million. It says here the Fox network paid her $58,000 in royalties for The Simpsons, as well as $3 million for the 3.5 seasons her show was on the air.
Right.
So it was like, okay, let's prorate this thing, and they paid her. The question was, she thought she should get ongoing,
Because she was part of the creation of that.
and said no.
Yeah, but you can kind of see why. I had a show. We created this character on it. I would just be interested to see how much money 30 years of The Simpsons has created. $1 billion industry, billions of dollars. You think about the characters, the Forget the television show, just the characters and all the licensing. That's why there's that show I told you about on Netflix that I think you'd find fascinating. It's the toys that made us, and it just the talks about the amount of money in licensing these characters. You know, things you don't really think about, but all those Simpsons lunchboxes and the figurines and the sayings and the T-shirts and all the little things, anything you can think of. Remember for a time that had Simpsons dolls and shit associated with it?
Speaking of toys that made us, so Johnny Slapshot, his birthday party, guess what gift he got? Kerplunk.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, isn't that something? Somebody, which is great because, you know, it's a fun little game that gets you away from screens, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he changed his name maybe to Johnny Jumpshot because he likes b-ball.
Yeah, that's great.
Johnny Jumpshot.
But they're still I was surprised they're still making that. And then I heard Delise say the other day, ask Mel, my daughter, does he have an operation game?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's what I'm looking at for my brother's daughter, who's 4 now. So
you know what else is
time
good
to play those games.
Is Pop-O-Matic Trouble if you can find it.
Oh yeah,
Love that.
Yeah,
used to love Pop-O-Matic Trouble.
And she just got Hungry Hungry Hippos. That was one of them.
Yeah, and another one like that was Hands Down. Remember, you got the cards and you just slap the
right.
That's the commercial Pop-O-Matic where they call Dad and Sis.
What?
Yeah, they say walk around the something trouble, blah blah blah. Dad can trouble his sis can trouble her mean old brother. I think they call her Sis and Dad and. Yeah.
It's the clickable dice in the middle of the board, right? Like you have to press on it, and the dice rolls around in that tiny container. Wow, that's a few years ago.
I just have one last thing. I won't say. I just. It's a person I know who put this up on their Facebook, and I don't often do this. I won't say who it is, but it's somebody's Facebook post. And when I read it, I had to cut and paste it and save it. I just knew there was something in it. I'm just going to change the names of the people in it, okay? But here's the sentence. And I'm not making this up. Here was the sentence. It says, "Hark." That's how it starts.
The herald angels
Wait.
sing.
It says, "Hark!" Exclamation. After putting up our tree with our son to a soundtrack of Bing and Nat, of course, my wife made shortbread. So much for a gluten-free Christmas. Thank goodness for that. I just read that and I thought, that has got to be the whitest sentence said in the last 75 years. That is just... And this is my buddy, and he's a sweet guy, but it's like, there's
no...
Yeah. But seriously, after putting up the tree to a soundtrack of Bing and Nat, hark, he says. But I read that and I'm like, that is the... that's like something from the 1930s. You know, and it was so cute because I'm like, that is a sentence transported at a time.
Except for the gluten part.
I know. Just so much for a gluten-free Christmas, period. Thank goodness for that. Anyway, I loved it. Maybe just think...
You loved it?
I did. I just thought
genuinely loved it?
No, I thought it was cute.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was cute because my immediate response was, that is the whitest thing anyone has said in a long time. Start a sentence with hark.
That's impressive.
You know you're dealing with
I don't even know how to
people.
use that.
Yes.
I couldn't use that.
I
in a
couldn't use it in
sentence.
a sentence.
A black person's never said hark.
Don't debate the joke. You're a joke debater.
It's just a very white word.
All right, so tomorrow...
Old white guy.
Yeah.
With a man bun. You're talking about gluten-free. Oy, oy, oy. What did they do for stuffing then? Jesus.
Are we done?
Yeah, stuffing's glutinous.
Oh, is it fit?
Oh, yes, it is.
What your sister-daughter made us, is it glutinous?
Yes,
Hey,
yes,
speaking
yes.
of that, so what do? Because I'm taking those wontons right up. I'm going to boil them and make them. What do I?
I gave Howard and Fred wontons. We forgot to say
Yeah. Well, that's what.
Wonton. Yes, so treat them like ravioli, frozen ravioli. You throw it in
boiling water for 5 minutes.
Simmer it, turn it down to simmer after you throw it in, and then wait until you see some. I guess when the meat's cooked, you'll see.
How do I know that?
Well, the color will change.
Okay.
You'll see a little difference in color. And also sometimes because of the air bubbles inside, you'll find like weird wrinkles on it, and you know when it's cooked because of that.
Wrinkly meat.
Yes.
Well,
Like my
you've had it.
Can't wait for Johnny Jump Shot to get old enough to listen to this. Like Miss Zach. Yeah, Grandpa. That's my grandpa.
Liz was telling me yesterday.
That's Grandpa.
Liz was telling me yesterday. Well, we're paying the wonton tax for Howard now. If you remember that bit.
Oh yes.
So every time Howard goes to a restaurant, there's wonton, and you have to pay a
what that
wonton
is?
tax.
No.
Whenever my kids, we would order Chinese food. One of the things we all love was wonton soup, but I would take them one wonton from each of the kid. I called it the wonton
Oh,
tax.
right.
Because I wanted extra wontons. And you're not going to finish all those wontons.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So
Can't leave a wonton.
have it with red wine
Wonton
vinegar.
meta.
Put it in some broth, or have it with red wine vinegar. Red wine vinegar is the best.
Should I put some broth?
Broth either would work. So if you want to eat them on their own like pierogies, have them with vinegar.
All right.
Always vinegar.
All right. Well, there you go.
Not white vinegar.
We look forward to seeing what's going on.
A squall. Look, a squall.
Oh, it's squalling.
It's right now. We're mid-squall. We're going to the washroom, man. Number 1, number 2.
Got 3 coffees and a bottle of water.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, off you go then. Sean, will you be here tomorrow?
Of course I'll be here tomorrow.
All right. Sean,
The better
Phil.
half will be with me too, so you'll meet her for the first time.
Oh,
Seriously.
You're
bringing your chick in?
Yeah, I
She
gotta
gonna
get
be-
her up super early.
Is she going to be like rolling smokes for people?
She'll be up for a couple. At least.
All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.
In the towns we know, a place we saw the lights turn low, the jigsaw jazz and the get fresh flow, pulling out jobs and jamboree handouts, 2 turntables and a microphone, bottles and cans, or just clap your hands, or just clap your hands. Where's that?